Jai Gurudev. Jai Masters. If you work with yourself, there are certain things you will see as you go deeper and deeper. So the first thing you'll see is that the mind is very prolific. It is always saying something. It is always active. It is always ongoing. When you fall asleep, it's better, but usually it creates dreams. That's its way of being active. But there are times in sleep, deep sleep, where your mind is not active. That's why it's very peaceful. That's why you say, I rested well, I had a peaceful sleep. But normally, certainly during your waking state, you will notice that your mind does not stop. That is a very, 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 very important thing to notice. The problem is that because it doesn't stop, you don't see its edges. If you see a lake, you know where it starts, you know where it stops. The ocean, you have no idea. You have no idea if it's only as big as what you're seeing or if it goes on forever, because you can't see the edges. You can't bound it. Same with the mind. You can't see the edges of the mind because it's always active. You don't know what it's like to compare its activity against quiet, because there is no quiet. Not if you don't work on yourself. It just goes on. So that's the first thing that you see when you enter onto this path, is that you have a problem with your mind. You always had a problem with your mind. You just didn't know it because it was the norm. If something's normal, if something's always there, you can't see it. Like the fish can't see water, it doesn't know there's water because it's never seen non-water. Most people have never seen quiet mind. You listen to me. Most people have never seen quiet mind. They've seen relatively quieter than noisier. They've seen absolutely tumultuous versus normal, but the mind is always active. So the first thing you see is the mind is always active. And in trying to separate, to quiet, to do something about that, you will start to divide your mind into segments, into layers. It's inevitable. Do not fight it. But because I'm saying it to you, you'll be more wise and be able to break through sooner. It's not like you will just step back out of mind and it will become quiet. I mean, maybe in some meditation or some drug or something you can make that happen, but it will not be your normal state. And what I care about is your normal state. I don't care about your spiritual experiences. None, zero. I care about your everyday state of how you are normally, how you walk around, because that's where you live. I want to change your everyday state. I don't want to give you some spiritual experience that you then come back and talk about the experience you had. I want it to be who you are. So first you see the mind is always active. Then, because you can't separate yourself from it, you start to break off pieces. And you start saying, oh, the part Mickey's talking about is the part that gives me the most trouble. The part that complains all the time. The part that about this, the part about that. And you break off these pieces of the mind that are patterns in the mind, that are repetitive, and you can start to see them because they're more extreme than other things. And so you think that that's what the problem is, that the mind complains about this or it has trouble with that or something like this. You break out the pieces. And that's a good thing to do. It's fine. And you start to use a part of your mind, the one you identify with most as you, which is still mind, I, and you start saying, I'm having trouble with my mind. It just keeps bothering about something that happened a long time ago, and I realize it's always done. Who is that talking? Who is that thinking? That's mind too. Do you understand that? But you're standing on an island of mind, and you started to break away the chunks of ice. So there's this one piece that, because it's extreme, that's what will normally happen, the extreme pieces, you'll be able to identify it as something that's bothering you. I want you to understand this you is your mind too. All right? The you who's in there thinking about it and saying, I wonder why it's like that. Probably, am I doing okay? I don't know. I'm not meditating enough. That's mind too. It's exactly the same mind. All right? But that is so much more prolific. That is so much closer to you. You're so much more identified with that you don't stand a chance in seeing that as something that doesn't have to be there. What you see is, that's me, my Freud called your ego, your self-concept. That which you see as you is a mental construct. It thinks about you. How do you think about yourself? What do you know about yourself? What do you like about yourself? What do you not like about yourself? Then there's these other thoughts in the mind. Like, my mother's in there bothering me. She used to yell at me, and I'm going about my business. All of a sudden I hear my mother yelling. I got to get rid of that. It's stuff like that that you separate out and you start to think, and it's good. There's nothing wrong with it. You start working on cleansing your mind. You start working on how do you get that to stop bothering you, to have that there all the time. You can't enjoy yourself. You can't let go. You can't be free because the mind's always nagging at you and bothering you, all right? So you start working on that. And there are lots of techniques for working on that. I told you, I don't teach techniques. To me, the technique is I want out. That's the technique. If you want out, you'll find your way out. If you really want to stop smoking, you don't need a patch. You need a patch because you don't want to stop smoking, but you want to stop smoking. And so I need a patch that will make me desire less to smoke because I don't want to stop enough to overcome the desire. Do you understand that? There's only one thing you need to stop smoking. Here's a technique. Don't put a cigarette in your mouth and you will stop smoking. It's a phenomenally magic thing, all right? Just don't put a cigarette in your mouth and you're going to find that you stop smoking. Now tell me you don't know how to not put a cigarette in your mouth. And I'm going to laugh at you. You're the one who's doing it. You're taking it out of the pack and putting it in your mouth. Just don't do that, and you'll never smoke again. The trouble is, you don't want to not do that, do you? Not enough to not do it. If you really didn't want to do it, if you sat there and told me, I've given this example before, no, Mickey, you don't understand, I'm completely addicted. My God, I just ate, and I'm so used to this, and I got problems, and I just got to have the cigarette, and I can't not. Really. No, it's in my hand. I got to put it in my mouth. All right, I will give you $1 million if you put that cigarette down for 15 seconds and don't put it in your mouth. Can you do it? Can anyone not be able to do it? Have you ever met anyone, all right, even a drink, totally addicted, you feel me? If the reward was enough, they do it, don't they? And I can tell you a secret. If you can do it for 15 seconds, you know what it means? You can do it. It means you're capable of doing it. So 15 seconds, 15 minutes, 15 years, same thing to me. Here's $1 million if you pick up that dumbbell that weighs 6,000 pounds. I don't care how much I pay you. You ain't picking the thing up. You don't have the ability to do so. But if I can give you a reward that's enough for you to succeed and not putting the cigarette in your mouth, and you can do it, that means you can do it. If I'm being strict with you, that means you don't get to say, I can't do it, do you? You get to say, I don't want to do it enough. Understand that. You either have the ability to do it or you don't, and either you're doing it or you're not doing it, period. But don't confuse the fact that you don't want to do it enough with the fact that you can't do it. All right, it's the same thing with techniques of how you work with these problematic problems in your mind. There are problems in your mind. Your mind is not healthy. If your body was not healthy, you would do something about it. You would change your diet, you would go to a doctor, you would work out, you do all kinds of things to make your body more livable with, don't you? But you don't do it with your mind. Maybe you do, but people don't do it with their mind. They just figure however their mind is, that's what I'm stuck with. I don't even think I'm stuck with because I think it's fine. They don't understand how much trouble it's causing. So I said the first layer is you see how much trouble it's causing. You're getting ready to take a shower in the morning. You're looking forward to things. You're feeling good. And you get in the shower and you're minding your own business, you think. I shouldn't have said minding your own business because your mind is minding its business and you're trying to take a shower. You just watch your mind, what it does while you're supposed to be washing your body. You should be washing your body, paying attention like you wash your car or something. No way. The mind's in it. What am I going to do today? Oh, my God, remember what Sally said to me yesterday? I don't want to see her today. Well, I have to see her. Maybe I have to go the other way. Blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, you're in a bad mood when you walk out of the shower. What happened? Nothing happened. You were in the shower by yourself and nothing happened. And yet all of a sudden your whole mood changed. That's your mind. That's the mind did that. So the mind is a problem. It's not well. It's not supposed to just be talking all the time. And so you catch on that first layer of seeing, I have a problem. My mind. It just does its own thing. And it's not always nice. So you notice this. I'm telling you, that's your first step is you notice. Your second step is you want to do something about it. It is totally natural that you will see some parts as worse than others. It's only because you're used to your norm, if you will, and these are outside your norm, so they stand out. So those are the ones you're going to start working with. What's the technique? I'm telling you It is the same as stop smoking. There is no reason that your mind is doing that. It's just a habit, just like smoking. Why can't your mind say, oh, look how colorful your face looks with that little red spot on it? Okay, look, isn't that beautiful? It's neat, all right? Why can't it say something nice? It can say whatever it wants. Oh, I dropped ketchup on my shirt. It's like a collage. It looks like it's really nouveau art, right? Isn't it beautiful? I can't wait till people see it. I'll put it out so they can see it. No, you don't do that. You're all embarrassed. Why? It's going to be on your shirt anyways. Why not have a good time with it? Because your mind won't let you. It is in the habit of creating negativity and talking negatively to you. If it's the same as stopping smoking, and it is, how did I stop smoking? By not paying attention when you felt an urge to have a cigarette. I can't make you not have the urge. That's not how you stop smoking. The way you stop smoking is even though you feel the urge, you don't do it. Yes, I felt the urge. Well, why didn't you smoke? Because I wanted to not smoke more than I wanted to smoke. It's that simple. It's a formula. The person with the most power wins. Me. I'm the boss in here. Yes, there's urges. Yes, there's things. Yes, there's stuff. So the mind starts talking. The mind starts saying these extreme things. And you just don't. Ready? I didn't say don't say it. It's saying it. You don't have to listen. You don't have to listen. Hey, you ignore people all the time. You do. People are talking. They don't know what they're talking about. Somebody's just rattling off talking. Right? You just ignore them. Go about your business. Learn to ignore her. Don't suppress her. Don't get mad at her. Don't blame her. That part of the mind, him or her. Basically, it's out there talking. It's over there on the edges talking. So what? So what? Crickets are cricketing. You don't have to listen. There's no law saying you have to listen to what your mind is saying. You have permission to not listen to the mind when it says stupid things. Anytime it's sitting there talking bad about you, saying mean things about you, that's stupid. So you just learn to not listen. Well, people can't do that. They have trouble doing that. They are addicted. It's an addiction. They are addicted to listening to the negative junk that their mind comes up with. And so then there's techniques. I'm not talking against them. They're wonderful. So, for example, I discussed this with you, mantra. Mantras have great powers. I am not saying they're not. There's all kinds of mystical things with mantras. But I want you to understand where the tires hit the road, the most basic aspects. Your mind will say whatever you want it to say. I want you right now, every one of you, I want your mind saying hello over and over again inside. Is it doing it? Which one of you doesn't do it? You can make your mind say whatever you want. Now make it say goodbye. If your mind was saying hello or goodbye, guess what it wasn't saying? Oh, you look so stupid. This is ridiculous. I hope nobody hears you saying it. Am I saying it out loud? I mean to be saying it. You're not hearing the crazy talk that's going on in there. Because either you're using your mind willfully or it's talking to you automatically. It's manifesting its own idea of what it's supposed to be talking about. So when you're using it, you're expressing yourself through the mind. It cannot be expressing itself freely to you. Now, there are layers. Sometimes you're sitting there doing your mantra in the background saying, oh my God. All right? But it's quieter. Do you understand that? It's not right up there front in your face. It'll go away over time. So the most basic purpose, I'm taking away people who tell you mantras have special powers, and they do. Fine. I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about where the tires hit the road. Where the tires hit the road is if you're not using your mind, it's using you. It's just talking. It's just coming up with all kinds of stuff and shifting you from one place to another. So if you decide that you want to work with something like mantra, you teach your mind. It's very trainable. You just taught it to say hello. What do you want to bet if you listen to a song 6 times and then stop it, it's still going on in there? Have you noticed? You can't get it to stop. Your mind is habitual. It has these habits, just like any other animal, right? Conditioned response. You teach it things. Teach it to do a mantra. Om Namah Shivaya, Guru Om. God, 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 I don't care, love, whatever you want. Just teach it to say something that's either neutral or positive. I prefer neutral, actually. I prefer you learn something in a language and you don't know what it means. Right? Otherwise, your mind will think about it. I don't want your mind thinking about the thing we're putting in there that's supposed to stop it from thinking. So you sit there and repeat it. You do it when you're sitting alone. You train yourself. And I'm telling you, if you train yourself, you're going to find out it's going on. It starts to go on by itself. It just pops back in your mind. That's wonderful. Well, what do I do if it keeps popping back in my mind? Listen to it instead of the rest. Why? If I have a choice between Om Namah Shivaya, 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 or why'd you say that? Oh my God, that was so stupid. Oh, I'm embarrassed. I don't want to see him. Guess which one I want to listen to? At least one's nicer. It's neutral. It's not making me do stupid things. Call somebody. Did he say that to you? Did you hear from him? I was so embarrassed with what I said. Or you should hear what I said. The person forgot what you said. Now you're bringing it back up and telling them because it bothered you. There's no good that's going to come from this garbage that's going on in your mind. So you learn to work with yourself, to train yourself, just like you learn to get off a drug or learn to stop drinking or learn to stop eating too much or whatever it is. This is a habit you have of being down on yourself or complaining about things or being insecure. What is insecurity? A pattern in the mind. If you sit there and you go at the office Christmas party and you bring your instrument to play and you're playing it, believe it or not, there can be somebody next to you who's playing way worse than you and is having a great time. They just think, this is neat, I'm playing, what do I care? Like, they're not insecure about it. But you, every note that's slightly off, even if it's not off, you think it is, because you're insecure. Insecurity is a state of mind. Insecurity is not how you play the instrument. Insecurity is what your mind said about how you play the instrument. And if you are insecure, it did not say nice things about it, did it? And if you're totally secure and you couldn't care less, it said wonderful things. Boy, is this fun. I can't even believe I can play. It's a lot better than I played last time. It's a state of mind. It's just mind. It's not right or wrong or anything like that. At what point should you be embarrassed? You decide. If one person walks up and says, that was terrible, or if everybody walks up and says, that was terrible, at what point do I agree that it was terrible? It's your choice. There's no rules here. It's just mind. I am telling you, to live with a mind that has learned to do mantra is way more comfortable than to live with a mind that does whatever it wants. You just let it loose wherever you want to go. Just go there. Just cause trouble, whatever trouble you want. It's almost like putting on a leash a little bit. So that's why people teach mantra. Why do they teach counting your breath? Zen teaches counting your breath, watching your breath. I used to do it a long time ago. I don't have a single question in the world. Why? I would rather watch my breath than watch my mind. My breath is steady. It goes in and out. And if I take my consciousness and I watch my breath, I get calm. That's why pranayama works. We were watching a movie the other day, and all of a sudden, somebody from a SWAT team or something, I don't forget what it was, teaches this kid that if he gets scared, he says, this is what you do. I want you to take this watch, and every 8 seconds, breathe in, and then 8 seconds, breathe out, then hold it for 8 seconds, and just do that until you can do it for 8 seconds. And keep doing that, and you'll see that you become calm. I taught him pranayama. I mean, oh my God, I couldn't believe that, right? Guess what? He's right. If you steady your breath, your mind will become quieter. Your emotions will settle down. They are all tied together in there. Most importantly, believe it or not, is what you have done is taken your consciousness, your awareness of being, and focused on something other than your mind. If you are sitting there counting your breath and watching it go in and out, guess what you're not doing? Being neurotic. You understand that? Someone once asked me, if I go deep in meditation by watching and counting my breath, and I lose all idea what my mind is doing, is it that I'm paying attention to something else but it's still doing it, or did it stop doing it? You know, my answer was, don't check. Just keep watching your breath. So you've shifted your consciousness off to something that's neurotic. We already saw that. Remember, the first thing we woke up, we saw the mind's going crazy. Well, the highest way is not to learn to control your mind. Do not let anyone teach you mind control. Mind control is not spiritual. Mind control is as follows. Oh my God, I'm getting this rash and this lump that's coming out of my arm. Here's some makeup, hide it. No, don't do that. Please, don't do that. That's not a good thing to do. Show it to somebody. There's something wrong. If your mind doesn't stop and it's always negative, don't control it. There's something wrong. It is a symptom, just exactly the same as if a rash and a bump starts to come out on your arm. It is a symptom that something is wrong. You best find out what it is and solve that. Then the rash will go away. You don't want to put makeup on it so nobody notices it. It is the same thing with your mind. There is a problem. That's why your mind is talking all the time. If the best thing you do with it is control it, to tell it to shut up and use mind control with will, you are suppressing that problem. You will never see what it is. On the other hand, if you do mantra, if you count your breath, if you watch your breath, any of these things which shift your consciousness off of your mind, that's like you didn't go to sleep. In sleep, your mind lets go. It's an in-between state. You took your consciousness off the mind. Believe it or not, during those times when you're not there focusing on your mind, it is free to release the problems that it has. And it will. That's why when you go to sleep, it releases the problems it has. That's what your dreams are. Freud taught that when he analyzed dreams, that your dreams are the result of your suppressed stuff. There's all kinds of layers, but that's what's coming up. This stuff gets in your mind, and you don't like it, so you suppress it. And then at night, when you're not there controlling everything, or attempting to, it is able to release. The mind's an amazing thing, but the trouble is it's broken. So it's got all that stuff in there. It needs to release it, and that's what I want you to understand, is it's always trying to release the garbage you stored in there. So at night, when you sleep, it does it through your dreams. When you're awake, it does it through the constant chatter. So that if you feel insecure, you feel something's going to go wrong, it's because you suppressed all the stuff that ever went wrong. So it builds up inside of you, and you have a proclivity toward wrong. You're afraid I'm going to make a mistake. Because when you were young, you yelled at or something happened, you got all scared. I have trouble opening myself because you got hurt. You stored these things inside. And because you stored them inside, your mind says, no, don't go, don't go, don't go, you get hurt again. And so basically, that's why the mind is doing what it's doing. Therefore, I say mind control is not what you want to do, because that's just suppressing it back down. What you want to do is give it the room to release. Well, if you move your consciousness, which is what suppressed it, you suppressed it. If you move the awareness of your being, the center of your will and consciousness, onto something else like your breath or counting or mantra, all of a sudden it has room to release. When you go on vacation, you feel better. That's why. Why? Because your consciousness is drawn away from all these issues your mind does normally, onto the scenery and onto the new things that are happening. And you love that stuff, don't you? Something that distracts you from yourself. That's what a true vacation is. Otherwise, you brought yourself with you. And it just complains about the hotel room and the weather, and then I don't even bother going. That's not a vacation. So everything makes sense if you pay attention. So you have to work with your mind. But to need to distract yourself by paying money and creating sudden interesting things to go on outside, you're running away from yourself as fast as possible. You'll never win. What you need to do is learn to live peacefully within yourself. So one way of doing this, like I said, is you're in there, you've got your normal state of mind, and then you have these extremes that are around the edges of liking and disliking. That's what usually come up, is liking and dislike. You know anything about like and dislike? Anybody got issues with like and dislike? They do get the mind going, don't they? All of your likes and dislikes are because of the past experiences you have suppressed. All of your likes and dislikes that manifest in your mind are because you suppressed things, held things inside of you from the past that were pleasant or not pleasant, and they created this habit of like and dislike. The likes and dislikes that are making noise inside your mind are the result of past experiences you've had that now manifest as, oh, I want that. Oh, I want to have that. I don't care what it costs. I don't care what I do. All right? No, I don't want that. I know he wants to go. I told him I would go, but I can't go. I'm not going. I'm not going. It reminds me of, having an issue in there, having a little trouble. It's because you stored stuff from the past, and you stored it with all of its likes or dislikes, and now it comes up and it manifests as preference, as like and dislike. So that's why your mind is talking all the time. It's trying to figure out what it likes, what it doesn't like, and what to do about it, and how to get it, and how to avoid it. You know, you can use mind for calculus. That's very nice, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when the mind is using you. When it's on its own, I believe me, your mind's not doing calculus. All right? Maybe it is. But anyway, somebody who's very math-oriented could go in the shower and do calculus, right? But normally, it's thinking about what I want and what I don't want and how to get it and how to avoid it. You check it out. You watch your mind for a while. I tell you, the vast majority of everything your mind is talking about on its own is about what do I like, what do I not like, how do I get it, how do I avoid it, why couldn't I have gotten it before, how come I had to go through that, will it happen in the future, oh my God, I hope it doesn't. It's just all this automatic stuff that it's talking about because you suppress these things and they need to release. So they come up as this autopilot, the mind talking by itself. So the right way to deal with that is to be comfortable with it, to welcome it, to give it its space that it needs to release. But the only way we're going to be able to do that is to put your awareness elsewhere, not suppress it. Don't push it down so you can go somewhere else. Leave it alone. Can you leave alone? You got divorced 10 years ago. It still bothers you. The same arguments are still going on inside your head. You keep doing them over again, changing what you said. People do that. Of what purpose is that? It's not doing any good, is it? Don't you dare believe that that's doing you any good. Oh, it's important that I go over it so I know what I should have said. No. What's important is that you let that go and be present in the current moment and learn to bring your heart and your mind and everything into the moment you're having, not stay addicted to what happened 10 years ago with some bad relationship. All right? But on its own, it's going to keep going. This is what it means. That first step is you see your mind's a problem. Second step, you see the noisiest parts that cause trouble, and you decide, I'm going to deal with these. Just like you decide, I want to stop smoking, I want to stop drinking. I want to deal with this. So I'm asking you, can you see, first of all, that it's of no benefit? All it is destructive, period. And then are you willing to say, I can handle this? I can handle that my mind is releasing this, and let it go about its process of releasing it while I do mantra, count, pay attention to my work, whatever it is. While I put my consciousness elsewhere and do not allow the mind to bring my consciousness into this garbage that it's trying to release. That's a very important stage. So you start working with these problematic aspects of your mind. And I'm telling you, you can do very well with them. You can do well with them. You don't have to have that ex-husband in there. The way you do it, I keep teaching you this, is to relax when it comes up. Just relax. Okay, there it is, talking about the argument and so on. I don't have to participate. Like I said, if you're into some of these techniques of mantra or japa, turning beads, instead of, why do you turn beads? Instead of listening to my mind. That's the right answer. Nobody will give you that answer, but that's the right answer. Why are you sitting there turning beads all the time? Well, my alternative was to listen to my mind. This was more fun. I call this working on yourself. Do you see it? The trouble with this work is no one else can do it. You're the only one in there. You got work to do. You're the one who has to decide to stop smoking. You have to decide you want it enough. I don't want this garbage inside of me. You want it inside of you for the rest of your life? All this junk coming up, giving you a hard time. You can't enjoy yourself. Then let it go. Let it go. So you start with practicing any technique you want, practicing that I'm not going to involve myself in this garbage. I'm not suppressing it. I'm not denying it. I just understand if I put my energy into it and think about it and try to figure it out what I could have done, I'm feeding it. That's the difference. If you start getting into what you should have told your ex-husband 10 years ago till you feel comfortable what it was that you should have said, it's ruined your life, your current life. So instead, you just learn to practice relaxing in the face of what your mind is doing. That's this stage. You just start relaxing. I've done this for 45 years. The highest technique is for you to relax. That's the highest technique. If you can relax in the face of what the mind is doing, it's free to release what it needs to release. That's why when you go to sleep, you relax. When you go in deep sleep, you really relax. You need to be able to do that while you're awake, to relax through it. Then the mind will say something, start getting you, relax. That's a hard thing to learn. It's just like it's hard to learn not to pick up the cigarette when you have the urge to do it. You will have trouble when your mind wants to think about something that bothers you, that bothered you, especially the past, all right, that bothered you. You will have trouble not going with the urge to get involved in it and wash yourself in it and get all involved in it. It's something you learn. You learn to relax, just like you learn to stop smoking. You learn to relax. You learn to stop being addicted to these meaningless thoughts that are just the result of garbage that you stored inside your mind. Your mind is trying to purify, and you won't let it. You literally go out there and try to get it everything it wants. If a spoiled child was throwing a tantrum because he wanted a toy, not one of you would get that kid the toy. If your mind throws a tantrum because it wants something, you do everything you can to get it. If your mind throws a tantrum because it doesn't want something, you do everything you can to avoid it. Well, there, it speaks for itself. No wonder you can't fix the thing. It would be exactly the same as that child. He'll throw more tantrum, won't he? Your mind will not stop. So you wake up, You see the mind's a problem. You can't get your arms around it, but you see it. Then you see pieces of it that you can get your arms around. Oh, there's my ex-husband talking. This is what my mother laid on my head. This is blah, blah, blah. You get that stuff. Let it go. I'm begging you. Learn to let it go. You say, well, how do I learn? It's too big. I have trouble with it. I get lost in it every time. It's just like learning to play the piano. You want to play the piano? You start with these things called scales. Don't you? Same here. I've got you right where I want you. Understand the logic of spiritual growth. You start with scales. What does that mean? I use the same example every time. You're driving down the road, and all of a sudden you're in a rush, and there's a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, and somebody in front of you is going 35. And it's a single-lane highway. How you doing? How's your mind doing? This is playing scales. It's not some traumatic experience. It doesn't have some big history that's freaking you out, and you can't do anything about it. You can't pass them. There's too much traffic. You're there. So you have a very simple choice. Freak yourself out inside your mind because this thing's going on, or relax and enjoy your journey. It's very binary, isn't it? Which one you want? Practice. That practice in the everyday momentary situations that are meaningless to resist. It's raining out, and you need to walk between buildings. Your mind's freaking out. Why is that the rain when that wasn't raining a minute ago? Oh my God, what did I do? You didn't do anything. It has nothing to do with you. It's rain. It's water. It falls out of the sky. Either enjoy it or freak yourself out about it. Your choice. That's what I mean by scales. You just start practicing with these tiny little things. Nothing is too small to work with yourself on. The small ones are easier. I call them low-hanging fruit. Aren't they easier? Do them. You start making decisions. Do I want to use this moment that my mind is complaining about to practice letting go? And if you can practice with these littler things, you're going to find out you can do it with the bigger things. Just like the cigarettes or anything else. It's like people are not taught to work on themselves. What they're taught to do is work on everybody else so that everybody else matches what they want. That's what they're taught to do. It's a lot easier to work on yourself. In other words, if I put on the sunglasses and all of a sudden everything's dark, I can't see it. Everything's so dim. Well, start hiring people to carry lamps every place you go and shine them brightly, bright, studio lights on whatever you want to look at. Shine it over there. Shine it over there. I got 15 people running around with all these lights and I need extension cords. Oh my God, this is really rough. Or take off the glasses, which is easier. It's the same thing here. If you're busy trying to be okay by making everybody and everything around you be the way your mind wants them to be, including the weather, you lose. You're in trouble. Take off the glasses of your personal self. Learn to work with your mind so it's not complaining about all these things that have none of your business. How do you do that? There are ways to do that. One, you can do mantra instead. So now I'm walking in the rain doing mantra. Instead of walking in the rain, having that neurotic mind drive me crazy. You can use affirmation. Affirmation works. It's raining. I need to walk outside. The mind starts with it. Start saying, I love the rain. I live on a planet where water falls out of the sky. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. So you start doing an affirmation in which you sit there and say, I like it. I love this. This is my favorite thing in the whole world. And I'm going to get wet. I get wet in the shower. This is free. You have to pay for water. There's water shortages. Just do whatever you want. Have fun. Somebody's driving slow in front of you. If it gets really slow, I tell them, can you go slower? You'll win the reward for the most miles under the speed limit anybody ever went. Oh, this is so much fun. Come on, you can do it. Anything other than the junk my mind would say that's making it negative. Make it positive. Why not? There's nothing you can do about it anyways. So that's an affirmation that's meaningful. You're trying to change your mind's attitude about things. So there's so many things you can do. There's always something you can do. Always. In order to improve the state of your mind. So it's not about suppressing it. It's not about controlling it. It's about working with it. I see it very much like driving your car. When you drive your car, I hope you have your hands on the wheel. And I hope you pay attention to what's going on in front of you. And I hope you know where you're supposed to be going and you kind of steer there. Do you do that with your mind? No. You take your hands off the wheel completely and just let it do whatever it wants and freak out. Right? It's scary. That's ridiculous. You're supposed to be in there driving. You are in there noticing that your mind has a problem. Of course it has a problem. Take your hands off the wheel and floor the car, and we'll see what kind of problems you have. They're going to get in trouble every single time. It's the same thing with your mind. It's a nice tool, but not if you leave it to just go crazy on its own. And so you start working with it. So that's your next stage. You start noticing that I got some work to do here. You develop some tools. The next layer, once you start working with yourself, is you get a bigger piece than just these pieces that pop off that for a moment bother you. I'll give you a bigger piece. You ready? Your past. What do you mean? That's a really big piece. Yeah, it is. You've had issues in your past that bothered you, haven't you? There have been things that happened in your past. Do you know what past means? They're over. Why are they still going on inside of you? They happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 15 days ago. They're over. Why are they still in your mind coming back up? Because they do that, don't they? How are you going to have a nice life if everything that ever bothered you got stored inside of you and keeps coming back up, reminding you how bad it was? It does do that, doesn't it? You can't have a nice life living that way. So that's a bigger piece. That's the past. And so you start working with yourself. And you start saying, if there's anything coming back up about my past, which of course there is, and it's recurring, it's like a recurring dream. Freud says you have recurring dreams, you probably better pay attention to those. You go to a therapist, psychiatrist, you sit there, well, I don't dream much, but when I do dream, it's always the same dream. I've had it since I was 12, but it's not important. Oh, yeah, it is. If you're having recurring dreams, I guarantee you they're really important. It means something's down there that's big, and it's trying to come back up, and every time you go back to sleep, shows up. It's the same thing when you're awake. If stuff keeps popping back up into your mind about the past, your parents, your this, your ex-husband, the class you took, whatever the heck it is, if it has its way of finding its way back into your everyday life, you see a poster reminds you of it, you see somebody walking a certain way it reminds you of it, stuff pops back up, doesn't it? That's the exact same thing as a recurring dream. There is no reason that it's still in there. Don't tell me, but aren't I supposed to remember things? Yeah, when you want to. Yes. Your computer's supposed to be able to go down there and search for names if you want them. They're not supposed to pop up by themselves while you're doing something else. When those things are popping up and haunting you, I don't want to call that memory. I want to call that a problem. Things are suppressed. They don't stay down there. They pop back up. Fine. Get them out of there. Your past does not belong in there. It belongs in there in a filing cabinet with index cards, every card being exactly the same. They're equally weighted. There's no emotional trauma associated with them. The emotion happened a long time ago. It shouldn't still be stored with the card. If you want to bring the card back up, there's nothing wrong with remembering things if you need to and you want to, but not that it comes up by itself, power-packed to blow you up, which is what it does, doesn't it? It causes your whole life to be screwed up. You don't want that stuff in there. Now we're talking about serious growth. You don't want that stuff in there. Want any of it. Not that way. But I'm dating somebody, and I had a bad experience when I was young, and I'm going out with them. I really, really like them, and I think this is really good. They may be my soulmate, and we've been out lots of times and everything like that, and all of a sudden you go out, and they go take you to a restaurant. I got a special surprise for you. It's our wedding anniversary. And it's the restaurant that you used to go with your ex-husband. And I mean X with a big X. And all of a sudden, you get very uncomfortable, and your mind starts saying, I don't want to go here. I don't want to tell him I don't want to go. I don't want to tell him why I don't want to go. I'm not going. I can't even believe, of all the restaurants, in New York, this is where he's taking me. This is a sign. This is a sign. This is ridiculous. There's no way I'm going out with this guy. I got to figure out how to break up with him. Whoa. It does talk like that, doesn't it? It can say stuff like that, can't it? That is your past haunting your present. You will never, ever have another whole, full relationship again for the rest of your life while that stuff's in there. There'll always be something that reminds you of it. All right, you got to get the past out of there. Now that you've done your scales, now that you work with some of these little noisy, irritating things that are louder, right, you can deal with, right, now I'm giving you a bigger one. I'm sitting there, like I said, there are edges on that one, isn't there? Not everything is your past, only the things that happened to you. And not all your past is in there, only the ones you didn't like. Right? But let's get them out. Nothing's in there except that you're holding it in there. There is no super glue in there. If it's in there, it's because you're holding it in there. It is your will that is holding those power-packed parts of your past inside of you. That's your next layer. You just sit there and do some serious work with yourself. And stop justifying that your past is still in there. Don't get mad at it. Don't get mad at yourself. Just understand you hadn't learned these things yet. And so it was natural if you didn't like something to push it away. But you don't understand it's going to cause trouble for the rest of your life. So how do I let it go? The beauty of what I'm teaching you, though no one will not teach you this, is that's like saying some bacteria got into my blood system, which is a normal bacteria. Oh my God, how do I get it out? Oh, what am I going to do? I have to cut my arm open and open the blood. No, you don't have to do anything. You just have to leave it alone. There is literally a system inside, it's called the immune system, that knows how to get the bacteria out. It's phenomenal. Now, you may have to tolerate the temperature going up because it raises the temperature, trying to kill the bacteria. You have to tolerate some mucus being thrown out because the bacteria builds up in there. There may be some inconveniences that are not so comfortable. You may get some headaches. Things may happen while the body is going through this process of purification. But it does do it by itself, doesn't it? All you have to do is not interfere, and it will purify itself. Well, what about if I get a cut? I get a cut, and there's a mark in the blood, and there's a little cut over there. What do? Leave it alone. You think it's going to go away by itself? Like the bacteria? Yeah, I do. I really think it'll go away by itself. But it's a scab. It's inconvenient. It doesn't look good. I'm going to peel it off. I wouldn't advise it. I would advise leaving it alone. I would advise you understanding that not only does your body have an immune system to get the bacteria and the viruses out, but it has an entire system for healing itself to where you wouldn't even see a single mark and nothing there if you leave it alone. Within reason. You may, if it's big enough, you need stitches or something. I don't want to talk about that. I'm talking about those small things. It can take care of itself, can it? That's your physical body. Your physical body is what we call gross. It's your grossest body. Your mental body and your emotional body, your energy bodies, are of a higher vibration rate of energy. They're not made of physical matter. They're subtler. They have a system to purify themselves too. That's why the stuff keeps coming back up. It's trying to push it out. It's trying to get rid of it. But you keep pushing it back down. That's like keep picking off the scab. You're interfering with the natural process. All you have to do is learn to relax in the face of the process of purification. That's the highest technique there is. Relax, and the stuff will come up. When? When it needs to, when it wants to, when it's ready. It'll do it exactly in the right order. Somebody will say something, it'll remind you of something, you'll start getting upset. Why would you get upset about what somebody says? Because it sounded like your mother, or it sounded like your ex, or because it reminded you of something. Because you have this stuff inside. If you can relax in the face of this, the stuff will come up. You know it'll come up. That's why you push it back down. You don't want it to come up. You just change your whole attitude. I want it to come up. I can tolerate the temperature, the scab. I can tolerate the symptoms of the process of purification. And what they are is as follows. No pain, no gain. Just like working out. It was stored with pain, or you wouldn't have stored it. It's coming back with pain, period. I want you to relax in the face of it and welcome it up. But it hurts, so what? Get the pain over with. If you don't put the cigarette in your mouth, the urges will get less the next time. Then that doesn't it? Isn't that how you break a habit? Break a habit. Break the habit of storing all that garbage inside of you and pushing it back down and keeping it in there for the rest of your life. And then don't put any more in there. Right? That will get you, we got pretty far. That'll get you pretty far. In fact, if you were to do that, you'll find your own way the rest of the way. You understand that? You will clean out enough, because what's going to happen next? I said I wasn't going to talk about it. All right? What's going to happen next is when you cleanse just enough to where that garbage is not in there pulling your attention down, you'll start to feel this beautiful energy well up inside of you. I guarantee you, I promise you. It would just start flowing up like a rush of holy waters, like a beautiful river of joy just starts flowing up inside of you. And it starts capturing your consciousness. So instead of all this garbage pulling your consciousness down to it, all that energy you were using to store all that stuff is released. That's the true yogic energy. Shakti. It's released and it starts to flow up. And then it pulls your consciousness into it and you start feeling this joy all the time. And who wants to hang out with the garbage when you can hang out with the joy? You just change directions. Now you're on your way up instead of down. And all of it will take you higher and higher. And there's no end to how high you can go. That's as far as we're going tonight. It's called liberating yourself. Freeing yourself. In yoga we call it, a person who's done so is Jivan Mukta. A liberated soul. You in there, hi. I would love you to sprout wings and not be anchored by all this stuff that's going on in there. Don't tolerate that. And don't waste your life by letting this sick mind tell you what to go do. It's crazy. Tell you what you're afraid of, tell you what you want, tell you what you did wrong. It's just doing it all the time, and you're never going to be okay. You free yourself. Stand up. Master used to call it regain your kingdom. That's how Yogananda talked about it. Regain your kingdom. Work on these things. Jagrata.